Welcome everyone. Today we'll talk about the fundamentals of organizations, operations management. Remember, we are essentially speaking about operational management in this particular video. So let us define or start by defining operations. What is an operation? It is that part of the business organization that is responsible for producing goods or services. So essentially the core part of the business is what the operation is all about. And how can we define operation management? The design, the operations, the improvement of the system or process that creates goods and probably provides services thereby. And that is what the operation management would be all about it. And we need to have a proper control, proper sync, proper implementation to be done during the operations of the organization. So yes, the part of the business organization that is responsible for producing goods and service and monitoring is known as operation management is all about it. Let us understand the supply and demand consequences of operation chain. Remember, if the supply is more than the demand, does it wait means anything? Yes, it means it's a wasteful activity. It's a costly activity. So supply is more, demand is less. But if supply is less and demand is more, that means there is a number of opportunity which has been lost. The customers would be dissatisfied because why? Because the demand is not being met by the amount of supplies. But if there is a parity between supply and demand, it is the ideal situation that we look after too, and that is the thing that should be kept in mind. So let us understand what is the operation functions. Operation functions are the transformative process of conducting or converting a raw material into a finished product, or probably it's a basic functions of the existence of an organization in the first place. Thereby operation is all about being a technical core. It might be services, it can be a breakdowns of your automobile which needs to be looked into, catered into. It's a part of an operation, remember. So the transformation process is all about inputs, be it land, material, labor, management, capital, and information. How do we go across with it? And what is the output that we look into it? We are looking for goods and services. So input is land, material, labor, management, capital, information. Output is goods and services. In between is the operation or the transformation process. That is what the value added system is all about it. Now this is where you have to keep a proper control between the parity of the input and the output. Remember, feedback is measurement taken at the various point in the transformation process. Control, on the other hand, is the comparison of the feedback against the previously established standards to determine if the corrective action is needed or not. So what is value added? The essence of operations function is to add value during the transformation process thereby. Value added is the difference between the cost of input and the value of price of output, as the case might be. So you might take up something, let's say a raw material like flour and probably milk and eggs. Individually, what is their prices? Now you turn them into a cake as a finished product, and what is the price of the cake that has been sold for it? So see the difference in the input cost and the output selling price, and that is what the value added is all about it. We are mixing the ingredients and coming up with a product called cake for that matter. Firms use money generated by adding values. How? Through research and development, investment in new facilities and equipment, paying workers, paying for materials, paying for general expenses, and probably for profits. So yes, this is how money is being generated through research and development, investment in new facilities, paying workers salaries, paying for material resources cost, paying for general expenses, administration, rental, and thereby paying themselves in the form of profits. Transformation process of a canned food processor. Let's say the input is metal sheet, raw material, raw vegetables, water, energy, labor, building, equipment. And what has been processing around it is of cleaning of the sheets, cleaning of the material, making cans, cutting, cooking, packing, and probably labeling. And the output remains a canned vegetables product that comes around it. Now, this is a transformation process of a canned food processor thereby. Let me give you a service procession transformation. Let's take up a hospital per se. What are the inputs? The doctors are the inputs, the nurses are the input, the hospital medical supplies are the inputs, the equipments are the inputs, the laboratories are the inputs for the hospitals, right? Now, processing is all about examination of the patient, surgery about the monitoring their progress, medication, therapy. We are talking this is as a process per se. And what is the Output is the healthy patient that comes out, walks out of the hospital. Wonderful transformation process for a service industry. So example of various operations, let's say in a goods producing thing, we are talking about farming, mining, construction, manufacturing, power generation. For operation as in storage or transportation, we are talking about warehousing, trucking, mail service, moving taxis, buses, hotels, airlines. For operation like say is exchange, let's say retailing would be an example, wholesale, banking, renting, leasing, library, loans, everything would be an example. Entertainment would be films, radio, television, concerts, and recording thereby. Similarly, for communication would be newspaper, radio, televisions, newscast, telephone, and satellite thereby. So types of transformation process, there are essentially 7 types of them. First being the physical type of transformation where we are exactly into manufacturing. Then comes the locational, we are into transportation things. If there is transformation in terms of exchanges, we are looking talking about retailing. If we are talking about storage as a transformation process, is warehousing. Physiological, we are talking about healthcare. Informational, we're talking about telecommunication. Psychological, we're talking about entertainment. So yes, there are 7 types of transformation process: physical, locational, exchange, storage, physiological, informational, and psychological thereby. So operation as a basic function, marketing which generates demand for the customers. Operation creates products or services. Finance is all about obtaining funds, tracking organizational performances. Now, these are the basic functional groups of marketing, of operation, of finances. Finance to arrange for funds, to keep an account for it. Marketing to generate demand, make sales. Operations to create product or services thereby. So, basic function of a business organization is all about marketing, operations, and finance, as been depicted in this particular screen if you're looking into it. Yes, supply chain. Now, a sequence of activities the organization involves in producing and probably delivering goods or services. Look what is happening from the left side of the screen to the right side of the screen. Move your eyeballs and you see from the suppliers, you have the direct suppliers. From the direct suppliers, you are yourself might be the producer, might be manufacturing, might be involved in the transformation process. That is where you come on to it. Once the product has been done, you want it to be distributed. The distribution goes to the warehousing from there it goes to the retail housing, and probably from retail it ends up into the final customer. And this is what the supply chain is all about, it the things that goes moves around here. So importance of operation management, if you want to go around it, why study it? Operation is one of the 3 major functions of any organization. Any company is in existence offers a major opportunity for an organization to improve its productivity and also its profitability in a way. So operation management affects the company's ability to compete, the nation's ability to compete internationally. Nearly half of the employed people all over the world have a job in operation. Absolutely, 50% of us, the total population, is engaged into operation per se. Uh, the operation management is responsible for a major portion of the assets of most of the organization. Remember, the operation management is the costliest part of the organization. Why? Because a lot of wages, lot of salaries, lot of expenses in terms of resources are to be incurred by the organization. So that is the reason why it is the costly part. The concept, the tools, the techniques of operation management are widely used in managing other functions, presents career opportunities thereby. Let me give you a glimpse into the types of production process that comes around it. Let's start with the process flow structure that comes around it. First and foremost thing is the intermediate process flow, right? What is the intermediate process flow? Where you do a part of the task. It's like a job shop where you do a part of a production like batch production. Let's say you are producing a drink. It might be a fruit drink which has an orange flavor, probably a mango flavor, probably a guava flavor, probably a mixed fruit flavor. Now each batch would be producing a particular flavor per se. So these are intermittent process flow structure. Then we have something called a continuous flow structure. What is that? We are looking into it. Continuous flow structures is all about mass production. It is uniform production which carries on, and continuous flow production happens without any interruption thereby. And the last one will be the project flow structure. Now project flow structure will have a definite start time and a definite end time in between. That is the precise meaning of project flow structure per se. Let me give you a quote you an example of an automobile plant per se. What it happens around it, and how do we reflect it out? Now, if you look into the raw materials of our customers, which from the left side of the screen, it goes to station one. We are adding nothing but materials and labors, nevertheless, for every of the station, which is sequential, and this represents finished goods, right? If you look into an automobile plant, it might be making the core of an engine. Probably somebody is making the tires or the backrest. Somebody is doing the seats. Somebody is looking at the glasses. So we have different station looking at into the different aspects. Some station might be looking only at the painting of the job shop per se. It's used for repetitive and probably for continuous processing, thereby production of goods vis-a-vis the delivery of services. What are the finer nuances between the goods and the services, thereby look into it. Manufacturing and goods service organizations differ chiefly because manufacturing is a goods oriented and service is act oriented. Remember, goods can be stored, services cannot be. Goods are tangible, services are intangible. Services can be experienced as a one off event altogether. Goods can be experienced n number of times, and almost a similar experiences can be guaranteed. So, goods service continuum that goes around it. Let me give you a better understanding of the flow of a goods and what is a service. For example, in an automobile assembly, let's say steel making, it's hugely and purely goods making thing. You can touch an automobile, you can touch the steel industry. But when it comes to, let's say, home remodeling or retail sales, now this is where the automobile are being changed to the requirement of the customers per se, right? So we are looking into some differences. One of the major changes that the customer might be asking is a different paint color. Then we can have a computer repair as an example, or a restaurant meal per se. Here you go, you have something called a product, like the computer gets repaired, or you have your lunch or your dinner, probably you enjoy your food. But then what are you paying for it? Are you paying for the food, or are you paying for the service? Are you paying for your own computers, or are you paying for the repaired computers? What are you paying for it? So here we are bundling in a part of our service and a part of our goods, thereby probably then there are certain other aspects which is known as writing a songs, writing a poem, or probably writing a software, a code, a machine language. Now essentially, are we doing something? Probably not. Are we, is it tangible? Probably no. We are definitely making an impact. And last but not the least, a number of people around me, around us, are looking into teachers, right? Teaching is essentially a service job. Surgery is essentially a service job that goes around it. Remember, they are also a part of the operation management. Did I say 50% of the total world population is engaged into operation areas? And I have given you a wonderful glorified examples of how purely from purely goods to a purely service industry, what are the transition that comes around it and what the continuum that looks into it. Let us come with the core services period. Core service is the basic thing that the customer wants from the product that they purchase, keeps on purchasing every now and then. And what are we looking into it? Let's talk about the operation management per se. From the point of view of flexibility, how do we go about it? Yes, it should be flexible to make an impact. It should matter to the quality, what it dictates, what it predicts, what it claims. It should be faster, quicker, speedier. It should thrill the end customer, by the way, and at an affordable price. That is what we are looking into. So, core service performances are on the four pillars of flexibility, quality, speed, and prices. Now, let us talk about value added services. We have already spoken about the goods. So, value added services differentiate the organization from competitors and build relationship that binds the customer to the firm in a much positive fashion, if I may say so. So how do we go around it? Let me come up with the same old slide altogether for you to understand the operation management for the service categories and how does the pillar come across. It is all about information. What information has been percolated to the customers? What are the customers aware of it? Are we in the process of solving the problems for the customers? If so, we are thrilling them. Are we extending support for the goods that they have already purchased? If so, we are ensuring that they become a repeat customer for us, and the field support that goes around it. So value added services is all about information, problem solving, sales support, and field support. we need to have these three categories of business process. You remember of the upper management process, the operational process, and supporting process. The upper management process governs the operation of the entire organization, whereas the operational process looks only at the core process that makes up the value stream, and everybody might be responsible for a different value stream, mind you. And the supporting process, these are the people who are going to support the core processes altogether. Remember, process is one or more action that transfer input into output. We come to the very last fragment. Look at your screen. You will see there are four sources of variations. Variety of goods, services being offered. The greater the variety of the goods, the services offered, the greater the variation in production and the service requirement would be. Wherein if it's a structured variation in demand, probably they are generally predictable. They are more important for capacity building per se. And then we have a random variation. This is where the natural variation that is present in the process. Generally, it cannot, and I repeat, it cannot be influenced by the managers. And last but not the least would be assignable variation, variation that is identifiable sources. These type of variation can be reduced, can be eliminated by analysis and corrective action. Variations, remember, can be disruptive to our operations and supply chain process. They may result in additional costs. They may result in additional delays. They may result in additional shortages, poor qualities, inefficient work system. So we should work towards to remove those assignable variations if possible. Random variation probably might not be possible for our managers to remove at all. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. I'm sure you must have understood what is the factors for organizational operational management is all about it. Thank you.